Okay, all you need to do is survive this crit and the next one. But it's fine, we got this. Can I beat Pokemon Sword with only ghost type Pokemon? Well, for my Halloween special this year, we're gonna try our best. We've got plenty of encounters to choose from, including some of my favorite Pokemon of all time. But is that gonna be enough to get through all the challenges Galar has to offer? Let's find out. Now, it's no secret that Ghost is my favorite type in Pokemon. Like, look at my tattoos. But unfortunately, none of the starters become a ghost type in Galar. So we've got to speed through the intro using not Ghost the Grookey until we board the train to the wild area. Since every section of the wild area has different encounters and they all have separate met locations, we're going to treat every single one like its own unique route or area. So it's time to go get some team members. First, we head to the Watchtower Ruins and grab a Golett named Mike Myers. Since he's got the ability Iron Fist to boost his punching moves, this is definitely the best ground ghost type we're going to get in this run. But obviously, he can't do it all alone. So, in North Lake Miloc, we find and catch a Ghastly named Babadook. Since Ghastly can get one-shot KO'd by like a gust of wind, we won't see too much of him until he evolves into Haunter, but Mike Myers still has a teammate for the time being. We also grab a snow run in South Lake Miloc named Samara Morgan, but we won't see her for a little while. We head into Motostoke, meeting up with Sonia and Leon, then meet the chairman of the Gym Challenge, Rose, and his assistant Olina, before we head to the Badoo Drop Inn, the location of our first battle against Team Yell. Now, since these guys have mostly dark types, the evil team could actually be a problem for us later on. But for now, Golett sweeps through them and we head over to the stadium for the opening ceremony. Now that we're officially ready to start the gym challenge, we get access to flying taxis, which we need to go catch our next encounter. If we fly back to Wedgehurst and pay 40 Canadian dollars, we can travel to the Isle of Armor, the location of our next two encounters. After fishing in Challenge Beach for like 25 minutes, we can get the 10% encounter, Davy Jones the Delmise. Having a single stage Pokemon with solid base stats this early in the game is great for us, giving our team a huge power boost. Right after that, we head to Loop Lagoon and grab a Sandygast named The Sand. Let me know in the comments if you've seen this cinematic masterpiece, starring Disney Channel legend Mitchell Musso. With all the encounters we can get for now, we head back over to Motostoke, grab some TMs like Protect, then head to the entrance of Route 3 to fight our first real battle against Hop. This one isn't too difficult since Delmise can handle both Wooloo and Sobble completely on his own, and I won't spend any time here. Later on though, Hop could get pretty tricky. We head through Route 3, dodging all the trainers I can because I don't want to fight these normies right now, then head inside Galar Mine number 1. Here we get our first battle against Bede. Normally this battle is actually pretty tough, but since all his psychic types are weak to ghost types, Golett just pressed Shadow Punch 4 times and easy sweep for us. Once we exit the mine, we're on Route 4, which is home of our next encounter. In the grass, we run around until we find a Pumpkaboo named the Scarecrow. Now, Pumpkaboo is a pretty interesting Pokemon. It comes in 4 sizes, and the bigger your Pumpkaboo is, its base speed stat decreases and the base HP stat increases. Mine is just average sized though, and honestly, I'm totally fine calling mine average sized. Turffield, home of the first gym of Galar and like some crop circles. Sonia, what is your job? Once we get up to the level cap of 20, we herd some sheep and it's time for us to challenge Gym Leader Milo and his grass types in our first gym battle of the run. Milo leads with Gossifleur and I lead with Pumpkaboo. Since Milo's lead only has normal and grass type moves, our Halloween themed Pokemon is either immune or resists all its moves. So I won't waste any time here. Pumpkaboo just spams Shadow Sneak until Gossifleur goes down, and that leaves Milo with only his ace Pokemon left, Eldegoss. I think this is a great time to bring up that I don't use Dynamax at all. I think it's a great added challenge to try to survive against Dynamax Pokemon without being able to use it myself to counter it. As Milo Dynamaxes, I swap into Delmise, who's got the best defense on our team by a pretty wide margin. We swap into a Max Overgrowth, and even without protecting, Delmise tanks it for like a third, and that's not even including the recovery we get from the grassy terrain that just got set. On the second turn of Dynamax, we protect, reducing the damage of Max moves to just 25%. That means a second max overgrowth only does like 2 damage to our haunted anchor. 2 damage. That literally gets healed by grassy terrain. One more max overgrowth finally puts Dhelmise into the yellow, but a held Oranberry heals it out of that right away. Dhelmise uses Astonish on this turn too, doing a tiny amount of damage to G-Max Eldegoss. With all 3 Dynamax turns burned, we're back to an even playing field. Well, as even as this battle's gonna get. Eldegoss has the same problem as its pre-evolution. It only has grass and normal type moves. Since Dhelmise has a crazy type advantage here, we just slowly chip Eldegoss down with neutral Gyro Balls. After a few turns, we bring down Milo's ace, and we've won our first gym battle of the run. We add the grass badge to our puzzle, and it's time to focus on our next challenge, the Hulbury Gym. Leaving Turffield, we head on to Route 5, which actually holds our next encounter. In the grass, we find a Drifloon named Pennywise. Having a ground immunity is always great for the team, plus Drifblim is a sneakily good Pokemon. We beat up Team Yell again, giving us access to the Rotom bike, then ride it over to the bridge and meet Hop for another battle. This one also isn't challenging quite yet, since he's only got Wooloo, Corvisquire, and Drizzile. None of these are really bad matchups for us, so I'll save y'all the time and skip straight to us arriving in Hulbury, home of the famous seafood restaurant, the Captain's Table, and also the second gym. We meet Chairman Rose and his assistant Alina again, then get invited to dinner if we manage to get the water badge at the stadium down the street. Dinner at a 5-star restaurant without a reservation? Sign me up. We head down to the lighthouse, tell Nessa to get back there, and then head inside to challenge her for our second gym badge of the run. Nessa leads with Goldeen and I lead with Pumpkaboo for the second straight battle. Goldeen only has normal and water moves, so Pumpkaboo either resists or is immune to all its moves. Wait, this feels like deja vu. 2 Razor Leafs bring down Nessa's lead no problem, and she sends out Arrokuda second. This thing is pretty fast compared to my Pokemon, so it connects with a super effective bite for a solid amount, bringing Pumpkaboo into the yellow before an Oranberry activates. That's fine, since a Razor flinches are so cool. We're not in crit range of bite still, so we stay in, tank another one down to 18 HP, then actually hit a Razor Leaf, bringing Arrokuda into the red. Since it has pretty trash defenses, we can actually use our priority move, Shadow Sneak, to secure Pumpkaboo's second KO of the battle. Last up for Hulbury's gym leader is her ace, Dreadnought. Since we've got to deal with Nessa's 3 Dynamax turns, Pumpkaboo can't do this all on her own. As Nessa activates her Dreadnought's G-Max form, Pumpkaboo uses Protect, helping us burn a Dynamax turn by surviving a Max Darkness at 3 HP. I kinda need Dhelmise to come in on the last Dynamax turn, so Sandygast needs to tank 1 Max Darkness here, and not get crit. And she survives on 3 HP. That's back-to-back Pokemon hanging on with 3 HP. I swapped Dhelmise in now, and since Dreadnought sees that it does more damage with water moves, it goes for Max Geyser on the switch in. Dhelmise resists that being a grass type, so we only take about 10 damage from Dreadnought's last max move. With that, Nessa's Dynamax turns end, and we're back to a regular one-on-one. Dreadnought is faster than us, so it can connect with a bite for solid damage, but it didn't get the flinch this time. So Dhelmise can connect with a 4 times super effective Stab Mega Drain for a clean one-shot KO on Nessa's ace. With that, we've won our second gym badge of the run, the water badge, and it's time for one expensive dinner. We head over to the restaurant to meet Rose, and wait, this place is empty. I tried to book online and it told me I needed to wait till 2027. Anyways, Rose tells us something important, I don't know. And we head off to Galar Mine number 2, hoping to find the 3rd gym leader, Kabu. Instead, we find Bede, but since he's still got all psychic types, it's a cakewalk. You know what isn't a cakewalk though? Team Yell. In this double battle with Hop, both Team Yell's leads use move to hit Sandygast, almost KOing our sandcastle right there. It didn't, thankfully, so we fired off a Bulldoze to slow every Pokemon down, and we had a better shot in the rest of the battle. After that though, Ghastly does evolve into Haunter, and that's our first evolution of the run. We meet up with Kabu, send him back to his gym, and then head to the Badoo Drop Inn, where we've got a really tough battle against Marnie coming up. She leads with Krogunk, and I lead with Drifloon, making her first appearance. Since it has super effective Sucker Punch, we need to waste that PP before we start attacking. So after spamming Focus Energy 5 times, we can connect with a super effective Gust, bringing Krogunk into the red as a Poison Sting does some pretty light damage in return. Marnie tries to heal with a Super Potion, but thanks to the Focus Energy we used earlier, a critical hit brings down Marnie's lead in one shot. Second up is Scraggy. We hit a Light Gust, then Drifloon tanks a beat up for around half our HP. I swap into Pumpkaboo on Scraggy's second beat up for around a third. At this point, I want to stall out Beat-Up's 10 PP, since none of Scraggy's other moves can hit ghost types. We use Protect every other turn, and in combination with Leech Seed and Leftovers recovery, we can pretty comfortably stall down Scraggy's PP to 4, then swap into Haunter to tank 1 for around half. Haunter has the move Spite, which reduces the PP of your opponent's last used move by 4. Since we use that, Scraggy's Beat-Up just fails because it has no PP left. Now that we're totally safe, we can just spam Hypnosis to take full advantage of Leech Seed recovery until Haunter is back to full HP, then swap into Delmise on the last turn of Leech Seed damage, bringing down Scraggy and leaving us at full HP for the real challenge of this battle, Marnie's ace, Morpeko. It's faster than me, so it hits a super strong bite for over half my health, but a held Citrus Berry heals us back up before we use the move Bulldoze, a super effective ground type move that also drops Morpeko's speed. Now, that's not going to help Delmise here though, but we're going to risk a crit. If we get crit, Delmise makes a sacrifice and Haunter can come clean up the battle. If we don't, Delmise finishes off Morpeko with a second Bulldoze. Morpeko fires off a bite that doesn't get a crit, so Delmise can secure the battle with a second Bulldoze. With that, we've taken down Marnie in our hardest battle so far, and next stop, Kabu's gym. The Motostoke Arena has a unique puzzle inside, but this one actually benefits us. You need to catch 3 Pokemon to gain points to pass the challenge, and normally this is just a classic catch and release kind of thing, but we actually get to keep one of these Pokemon here. In the grass, we can find our next team member, a Litwick named Jigsaw. Since this little guy has the ability Flash Fire, making him immune to fire type attacks, he's going to be a great asset for us moving forwards. I won't waste any more time here, so we head inside and challenge Gym Leader Kabu for our 3rd gym badge of the run. Kabu leads with Ninetales and I lead with Litwick. Since Kabu's lead here only has fire and normal type moves, it can't even touch Litwick. I'll save you the time. Litwick just spams Hex until Ninetales goes down, and second up for Kabu is Arcanine, who can actually hit our Pokemon with Bite. Since Litwick is still at full HP, we stay in for a turn and tank a super effective Bite for a little less than 2/3 before we recover with a held Citrus Berry, then retaliate with a Nightshade for a guaranteed 28 damage. With that chip done, I swap into Delmise on a second super effective Bite for like a third. Since Arcanine doesn't see a KO here, it goes for Will-O-Wisp. That burns Delmise, but it gets cured right away thanks to a held Rostberry. In return, we hit a super effective Bulldoze, bringing Arcanine into the red and dropping its speed by 1 stage. But since we cured our burn last time, Arcanine goes for another Will-O-Wisp. Even though we don't cure it this time, the physical attack reduction doesn't even matter since another Bulldoze pretty easily secures the KO on Kabu's second Pokemon. Last up for the gym leader of Motostoke is his ace, Centiskorch. Since we've got to deal with 3 turns of Dynamax as Kabu activates Centiskorch's G-Max form, we need someone to come and tank some hits. I bring in Sandygast to tank its signature move, G-Max Centiferno, bringing our sandcastle down to the yellow before a Citrus Berry brings us back up to around half. We protect on the next turn, so a second G-Max Centiferno brings us back down to the yellow. Unfortunately for our brave soldier, this mission is one way. G-Max Centiskorch fires off a Max Flutterby, finishing off Sandygast and giving us our first death of the run. As Kabu's Dynamax turns end, I bring out Litwick to help finish this battle off. Since we're immune to fire type moves thanks to Flash Fire, and both fire and ghost resist bug type moves, Litwick is the perfect candidate for this matchup. It does take a while, and Centiskorch does spam Smokescreen to lower my accuracy, but after a quick switch out to Haunter to finish the job, we bring down Centiskorch, and just like that, we've taken down Gym Leader Kabu. We get to add the Fire Badge to our puzzle, and it's time to head towards the mid-game. With an increase in the level cap to 36, we get another evolution here, as Pennywise evolves from Drifloon into Drifblim. That's a huge power boost, especially with the fighting type gym coming up. The first 3 gym leaders give us a special send-off, Beat and Hop start beefing, and then I head towards Hammerlock. Along the way, we do a couple of pretty important things. First, we pick up a Dawnstone, then use it on Snorunt, evolving her into a Frostlass. I'm always down to have a fast special attacker on the team, so this is pretty nice. After that, we run around in Hammerlock Hills and find our next encounter, a Honedge named Jason. Aegislash is an unreal Pokemon, and being able to use it will make our life way easier later on. Hammerlock, home of the 8th gym and our 3rd meeting with Chairman Rose. Here, we interrupt a conversation between him and Bede, then run into Leon. He sends us to meet Raihan, who's my celebrity crush, by the way. And then we look at some cave paintings or something, whatever. Then we go to Route 6, where we run into Team Yell again. This battle isn't too bad, but my game crashed in the middle of it, so we had to do it twice. After that, we get access to a new encounter. We can either get the overworld encounter, Galarian Yamask, or the wild encounter, Duskull. I decided to opt for the latter because, well, I have a plan for Yamask, obviously. Ghostface the Duskull should be a pretty great Pokemon for the team once she evolves. Stow Inside, home of the 4th gym and some really important items. We can grab both a cracked pot and a Duskstone here, which should get us some evolutions in a little bit. There's also this guy who sells like a different item every day, so if we're ever looking for a certain evolution item, I can just change the date on my Nintendo Switch. Speaking of evolutions, that Duskstone comes in handy pretty quick, since at level 35, Honedge evolves into Doublade, and then, with help from a Duskstone, Doublade evolves into Aegislash. He's going to make his debut right away, since now we can head inside the gym and challenge the 4th leader of Galar, B. B leads with Hitmontop, and I lead with Haunter. Since B's stab fighting moves can't hit our ghost types, we're already at a major advantage here, and nothing proves that like this lead Hitmontop. Nothing in its entire moveset can hit any of our ghost types, so this is just a free KO for us. I do use Dazzling Gleam to get the KO in case the AI swapped out, but it never did. That's 1 down, 3 to go, and second up for B is Pangoro, who's the subject of probably my favorite Pokemon short, the Panchamp who wanted to be a hero. In this battle though, Pangoro isn't going to be much of a hero. Since it's got a 4x weakness to fairy type moves, a single Dazzling Gleam from Haunter secures us our second KO of the battle. B's next Pokemon is Sirfetch'd, the evolution Farfetch'd got after 21 years. This one is a little bit trickier though, so I swap into Dhelmise as Sirfetch'd uses Brutal Swing, bringing Dhelmise to just above half HP. Dhelmise risks his second crit of the run, and he survives on 5 HP, healing with a Citrus Berry, then firing off a Giga Drain for some solid damage. That's all the chip we need here though, so I swap into Pennywise on another Brutal Swing, bringing our Hot Air Balloon into the yellow. That's okay though, since we don't have to take another attack. We outspeed and use the 2-turn move Fly, securing the KO on Sirfetch'd. That leaves B with only 1 Pokemon left, but it's definitely the hardest one to deal with, her ace Machamp. B activates her 3 Dynamax turns, putting us at a major disadvantage to start this battle. Drifloon protects on the first turn, taking some reduced damage from a max darkness down to 33 HP. We can't take another hit here, so I swap to our new defensive powerhouse, Aegislash, on another max darkness for over half our HP, but a crit still never KO'd. A Citrus Berry brings our health back up, and we're in great shape to tank the final Dynamax attack. We use King's Shield, which is a special version of Protect, and that reduces the damage from Machamp's final max darkness, and thanks to our bulk, Aegislash doesn't even get dropped below half again. Machamp goes back to normal, and we're back to an even 1v1. Aegislash is faster than Machamp though, so we turn into our Sword form, boosting our attack stat before we connect with an Iron Head for over half as Machamp uses a Scary Face, dropping our speed by 2 stages. I try to predict an attack by using King's Shield to switch back to Shield form, but Machamp just uses another Scary Face. Since status moves go through King's Shield, we still get our speed dropped to -4. Now that we're slower, Machamp still uses Scary Face for some reason, but that means we can just get a free KO after we switch back into Sword form, then connect with an Iron Head to finish off Machamp. That's our 4th gym battle done, and we've added a new badge to our little gym badge puzzle thing. Right when we walk out of the gym, we run into Sonia, who wants to show us some more finger paintings from ancient children of Galar, I guess. Too bad Beat is trying to destroy it though, so we've got to stop him. He's not too hard for us since he's still only got Psychic type Pokemon, and that's no problem for our Ghost types. Chairman Rose arrives and kicks Beat out of the gym challenge, and honestly, that's a favor to all the other gym leaders. This guy's a scrub. Right after the battle, Duskull evolves into Dusclops, who's gonna be one of the best Pokemon on our team for the rest of the playthrough. We head into the Glimwood Tangle, and here we find our next encounter. In the grass, we find a Sinistea named Hannibal. I wouldn't say Poltegeist is a great Pokemon, but it does have a unique move, Tea Time, that forces a Pokemon to eat its held berry right away. Could be kind of cool. Balonley, home of the 5th gym of Galar and some pretty important items for us. First, we grab the TM for Hex, giving us a solid ghost type stab move for basically every member of our team. As for the other item, we get the Eviolite after beating up a Pokemon breeder.
A Pokemon what?
This item boosts our defenses by 1.5 times, but only if the Pokemon isn't fully evolved. This is unbelievably broken, specifically if you give it to a Pokemon that's already pretty bulky, like Dusclops, for example. Once we get inside the stadium, we meet a really interesting NPC. If we talk to this girl in the Eevee costume, we get offered a trade that we can actually take advantage of. By sending over a Galarian Yamask, we can get ourselves a Pokemon that you typically can't get in Galar, a regular Unovian Yamask that, with some help from my broken Nintendo Switch, I name the Mummy. The only difference between the Unova and Galar forms is that one is a special attacker, but it also happens to be a part ground type. I'd rather have less weaknesses on a Pokemon that I want to use as a bulky tank, so I'm definitely going to take Unovan Kofagrigus. We get one more evolution before our next gym, and that's Pumpkaboo evolving into Gourgeist. Still worse than Delmise, but Halloween theming? We win some battles against Opal's gym trainers, but there's a unique aspect to these battles. Opal will ask questions, and if you get them right, you get a free stat boost in the middle of the battle. That feels a little unfair to me, so I'm gonna get all of them wrong on purpose. Instead of a boost, that'll give me some stat drops throughout the battle, just for, a little bit of challenge. We head out onto the field and challenge Opal for our 5th gym badge of the run. Opal leads with Galarian Weezing, and I lead with Aegislash. We swap into our Blade form, then you connect with a super effective Iron Head, leaving Weezing in the red and causing it to flinch. Opal asks her first question, which we get wrong on purpose, dropping our speed by 2 stages. That's like a little inconvenient for us, but since Aegislash has Shadow Sneak for this battle, we can still use the priority move to secure our first KO of the battle. Second up for Opal is Mawile, whose Intimidate drops our attack by 1 stage. Since Aegislash is in Blade form, which has really low defense, Mawile should see a KO with Crunch. By using King Shield, we protect ourselves from damage, and since Mawile or it can use Iron Defense, okay. Well, I really need this to get an attack drop, so I try to get the double King Shield, but it fails. Not a big deal though, since Mawile uses Iron Defense again to get to +4. That might sound like a big problem for us, but you'll see why it's fine in a second. Opal asks her second question, which gives us a defense and special defense drop. With a combined -7 across a whole bunch of stats, Aegislash still stays in here and uses King Shield, and this time, Mawile actually attacks. It goes for Crunch, and since that makes contact and it hit the King Shield, that drops its attack to -1. With the setup finally done, I swap to our newest team member, Kofagrigus, on a Crunch for about a quarter. Mawile sets up another Iron Defense on the next turn, which is fine for me since we're going to use Will-O-Wisp, getting us some consistent chip damage and halving Mawile's physical attack. That means on the next turn, Mawile switches to using the neutral Draining Kiss instead, which does super light damage to Kofagrigus. Since we also have Nightshade, a move that does damage based on the user's level, the defense boosts don't matter. We get Mawile down to around half HP, then Opal asks her final question of the battle, dropping our attack and special attack by -1. Since we're using Nightshade though, this doesn't even matter to us. We do some more chip, then swap to the newly evolved Dusclops to finish the stall, getting us our second KO of the battle. That late swap gives us a better position for Opal's third Pokemon, Togekiss. Since Burn only has attack, not special attack, Dusclops just goes for Nightshade after tanking an Air Slash, bringing Togekiss to 2/3. Another Air Slash gets a pretty big crit and also gets the flinch, so now we've got to change our strategy up a little bit on the fly. I bring Aegislash back in on a resisted Air Slash that only does 9 damage after our leftovers recovery. After protecting to get some HP back, Togekiss gets another Air Slash critical hit, but at least this time it didn't get the flinch as well, as Aegislash switches to Blade form, then connects with an Iron Head to finish off Opal's third Pokemon. That leaves Blanley's gym leader with only 1 Pokemon left, and that's her ace, Alcremie. She activates her 3 turns of Dynamax as Alcremie turns into its G-Max form, a giant cake. We protect on the first turn to burn a turn, but even if we didn't, we would have been fine. Alcremie's G-Max finale only did 4 damage through protect, so this should be a pretty good matchup for us. On the next turn, another G-Max finale only does 19 damage before we retaliate with an Iron Head for over half. One more King Shield stalls Opal's final turn of Dynamax, making this a normal gym battle again. We only need 1 more turn to finish off this battle, as Aegislash can swap back to its sword form, then hit 1 more super effective Iron Head for the KO. With that, we've earned our 5th gym badge of the run, and it's time to head out to the east coast of Galar. Once we head outside the stadium, Opal brings us back to Hammerlock, where she meets Bede for the first time. She thinks what any old person in a position of power seems to think. Ooh, a young boy that I can groom. She steals him away, and we're off to Route 7. Along the way, Litwick evolves into Lampent, making our fire type a little more usable. We run into Hop here, and he's not too hard, except for his super fast Boltund with Crunch that does a number on our team. We do manage to get by unscathed though, but we're gonna have to watch out for that. Route 8 actually has 3 ghost types we can catch, but we already have all of them. So all I do here is look at how cute Phalanx is. Look at them. Searchester, home of our next gym battle and a hot spring that honestly I could really use right now. I'd kill for a hot spring. Someone sponsor me, please. I'm looking at you, Raid Shadow Legends. Before we head to the gym, we can actually access the beginning of Route 9. Where we can actually get a super useful encounter. In the grass, we run around and find a Jellicent named Jean Jacket. With the water absorbability and some really underrated special bulk, Jellicent is going to come in clutch for the rock type gym that we're up against. After we fall to our death numerous times in the gym puzzle, we're able to challenge Gordy. But before that, we're going to need to backtrack to grab something. Over by the Pokemon daycare, you can talk to these guys, the Digging Duo. By paying them with some watts, they can dig up all sorts of items, like a Lagging Tail for later and a Duskstone for right now. We can use that to evolve Lampent into Chandelure, which might seem a little weird going to a Rock-type gym, but trust me, we're gonna need it. We head inside the gym and challenge Gordy, looking for our 6th gym badge of the run. Gordy leads with Barbaracle, and I lead with Delmise. Since this thing is a rock water type, it's got a 4x weakness to grass moves. Combine that with it being faster than us and lowering its own defense with Shell Smash, that's a pretty easy KO with Giga Drain. Second up for Gordy is Shuckle, the Pokemon with the 2nd highest defense stat in the whole game. Luckily for us, we've got a pretty solid answer into these kind of Pokemon. I swapped to Dusclops holding the Eviolite as Shuckle hits an embarrassingly light Rock Tomb, dropping our speed in the process. Dusclops is still faster though, so we can outspeed and hit a Will-O-Wisp, burning Shuckle. That gives us some free damage and makes Shuckle's attacks hit like an even wetter napkin, as Stone Edge only does 3 damage. I'll spare you guys the time. Dusclops just uses 2 Nightshades, securing us the KO and leaving Gordy with only half his team left alive. Third up is another defensive rock type, Stonejourner. It uses Wonder Room, swapping its really good physical defense with its really bad special defense. That doesn't matter to me though, since we're just going to use another Will-O-Wisp, having Stonejourner's physical attack. It sets up the Stealth Rocks on the next turn, as Dusclops uses another Nightshade. I'll fast forward again here. We alternate Protect and Nightshade to maximize the burn damage, then Stonejourner gets off another Wonder Room before it goes down. That leaves Gordy with only his ace left, the Fire Rock type, Colossal. He activates his Dynamax Band, giving him 3 turns of G-Max Colossal, which is something I'm really going to need to figure out how to deal with. We protect on the first turn to waste a turn, then swap into Kofagrigus on a Max Flare for huge damage, bringing us down to the yellow before a Held Citrus Berry gives us a little breathing room. Kofagrigus protects to try to waste Gordy's final turn of Dynamax, bringing us down to 24 HP. Holy shit. I forgot about those G-Max Volcaliath rocks. Well, 7 HP is more than 0, so I'm just going to say thank you to the Pokemon gods. Colossal turns back into a regular Pokemon, and now it's time to take control of the battle. I swap into Chandelure on a Heat Crash that he's immune to, essentially just helping us to pivot to a different Pokemon. Since I know this is never a Fire-type move now, I swap into Delmise to tank a Rock Tomb for some okay damage. Now that this should always be a Fire move, I can bring Jellicent in on her debut as a Heat Crash does some pretty light damage. The Sunlight fades, which is what we were stalling out in the first place, and now our Water type can really lock in. Brine actually doesn't secure a KO, which kind of surprised me, as Colossal's Steam Engine ability maxes out its speed. That sounds like it could be kind of scary, but after tanking a Rock Tomb down to the yellow, a Held Citrus Berry gives us some recovery, keeping us out of crit range. Colossal hits one more light Heat Crash before Jellicent finishes off the battle with a second Brine. With that, we've won our 6th gym badge of the run, and when we fight our next one, we won't need to worry about Dynamax. Right after the battle ends, Golett makes a reappearance just to evolve into Golurk, turning this little guy into a big guy and giving him a huge power boost. We head to a restaurant, meet up with Sonia and Hop, then immediately fight Hop again. This one isn't too bad either, since 2 normal types can't use Stab, Inteleon gets hard-walled by Jellicent, and Corviknight gets dominated by Chandelier. Oh, I forgot Pincurchin. It's Pincurchin. Let's keep it going. We beat up Team Yell on Route 9, get access to the Surfing Rotom Bike, then head to Outer Spikemuth, where we meet up with Marnie. This goth girl is going to be our biggest challenge in the entire run, and this battle is no exception. Liepard only has Sucker Punch as an attacking move, so that's nothing to worry about. Scraggy gets 1v1 by Gourgeist and her Leech Seed recovery. Toxicroak also only has Sucker Punch and resisted poison moves, and Morpeko isn't the threat that it used to be since we've got some higher base stat Pokemon now. We'll see Marnie again pretty soon, so I'll focus on her a little bit more then. Spikemuth, the town in Galar that doesn't like Dynamax. Listen, I don't either, so I'm not complaining. You also can get the choice specs here, but I'm not going to use them because I don't need them. I'm just different like that. Haunter does evolve into Gengar here, but I wasn't recording, so let's just pretend that I'm showing it on screen right now. We beat up some Team Yell grunts, then head inside to challenge Rockstar Pierce for our 7th gym badge of the run. Pierce leads with Scrafty, and I lead with the newly evolved Gengar. We outspeed and connect with a 4x super effective Dazzling Gleam for a pretty easy one-shot KO. Second up for Pierce is Malamar, a Pokemon with one of my favorite abilities of all time, Contrary. Unfortunately, I want to get rid of that. So I swap into Kofagrigus, who tanks a Night Slash thanks to a held Colbur Berry, and more importantly, his Mummy ability activates on contact, transferring his ability to Malamar. No more Contrary for you. Kofagrigus tanks one more Night Slash down to the red before connecting with a Will-O-Wisp, halving Malamar's physical attack. We protect and rack up some more burn damage on the next turn, then swap to Dusclops on another Night Slash for about a quarter. I'll spare you guys from having to watch another stall. We just alternate Protect and Nightshade again until Malamar finally goes down. That leaves Pierce with only 2 Pokemon left, and next he sends out his ace, Obstagoon. This is actually kind of rare because in this game, they're going to send their ace out last since Dynamax Pokemon need to come out last. I swap into Gourgeist on a Throat Chop for a bit over half, but a Citrus Berry gives us a bit of recovery. We are risking a crit here, but I'm cool with that. Obstagoon uses another Throat Chop, and Gourgeist survives on 13 HP before connecting with a Leech Seed, giving our side a little bit of recovery. After protecting for a turn to get some more chip, I swap into Aegislash on another Throat Chop that does some solid damage to our tankiest team member. I try to use King Shield to lower its attack, but Obstagoon uses its own signature version of Protect, Obstruct. That actually makes King Shield fail, meaning I can just use it again on the next turn, which is exactly what I do. Obstagoon has no other choice but to attack into it, lowering its own attack in the process. Now that Obstagoon is at -1 attack and at half HP, and thanks to Leech Seed and Leftovers, we're back up at full HP, Aegislash can tank a Shadow Claw for like a third, then fire off a 4x super effective Sacred Sword for the KO on Pierce's ace Pokemon. That leaves Spikemuth's gym leader with only 1 Pokemon left, and that's Commander Jupiter's ace, Skuntank. It can only use Sucker Punch here since Aegislash is immune to its poison moves, so I swap into Golurk for free. Now, on the next turn, Golurk does have to tank a Sucker Punch that never KO'd with a crit, then he can fire off a super effective high horsepower for the one-shot KO. Just like that, we've gotten our 7th of 8 Galarian gym badges, and next stop, Hammerlock. Hey, that kind of rhymed. Once we leave Spikemuth, Leon shows up just to flex his strength by taking down an out-of-control Dynamax Pokemon, then leaves us to go challenge Raihan. We head inside his gym and challenge the Internet Influencer to a double battle for our final gym badge of Galar. Raihan leads with Flygon and Gigalith, and I lead with Frostlass and Jellicent. A Sandstorm gets kicked up by Gigalith's Sandstream ability, giving rock types a special defense boost. The goal for this fight here is to get Duraludon out on its own, so we can 2v1 the Dynamax Pokemon. So to make that happen, we only want to KO 1 Pokemon this turn, and that's going to be Flygon. Frostlass can use 4x super effective Frost Breath to outspeed and get a KO on a certain YouTuber's channel mascot. Then a Surf from Jellicent can hit Gigalith for some solid damage and Frostlass for a little bit as well. That was definitely part of the plan, and I definitely didn't forget that Surf hits everything on the field. Stealth Rocks go up and Raihan sends out his Sandaconda second, or third. Frost Breath leaves Sandaconda with literally like 1 HP, but I knew that would never KO. Then a Glare paralyzes Frostlass in return, before Jellicent uses a Whirlpool to avoid KOing Gigalith this turn. She does need to tank a 5-hit Rock Blast though, which is kind of ridiculous, but whatever. On the next turn, I swap Frostlass out for Gourgeist, who tanks a Fire Fang from Sandaconda coming in. Then Jellicent can clean up Raihan's side of the field with a Surf. It also did some resisted damage to Gourgeist, but that's why I brought in the Grass type. Cause I'm learning. That leaves Raihan with just his ace Duraludon left, so we should have this in the bag. I swap out both Gourgeist and Jellicent for Golurk and Aegislash respectively. Then Raihan activates his Dynamax, giving us 3 turns to burn while we dodge getting destroyed. Duraludon's first max move is Max Steel Spike, and that goes into Golurk. Holy shit. Critical hit to 1 HP. Well, on the next turn, I swap Golurk to Dusclops, then Duraludon uses G-Max Depletion into Dusclops, doing less than half. Since I predicted the AI would just go for the KO on the Golurk slot, I just attacked with Aegislash, using super effective Sacred Sword for around a third. There's only one turn of Dynamax left, so I just protect with both of my Pokemon. Then it shrinks back down from building size to a regular size Pokemon. An Iron Head from Raihan's Ace hits Dusclops for solid damage, and it gets the flinch. Then Aegislash swaps to Blade form for a huge Sacred Sword, leaving Duraludon with just a sliver of HP. I double protect on the next turn, then I swap Gourgeist back in for Dusclops after that. She tanks an Iron Head really well, then Aegislash can finish off the battle with another Sacred Sword. With Raihan defeated, we've officially won every single gym badge of Galar and qualified for the Champion Cup semifinals. Off to Winden. We meet Sonia outside the gym, and she gets given her own lab coat, becoming a brand new Pokemon professor. Good for her. Before heading to the Champions Cup, we have to get ourselves some new items for the semi-finals. By surfing over to the Lake of Outrage, we can grab a Focus Sash and one of the best items I'm allowing myself to use, the Assault Vest. This item boosts your special defense by 50%, but it doesn't allow you to use status moves. It's a great way to make a bulky Pokemon even bulkier just to win a 1v1. While we're here, we grab a Dracloak named Gremlins, who's technically eligible for the team right now, but since it doesn't get good until it evolves at level 60, we're gonna need to wait a little bit before his debut. We head on another train ride with Hop and then traverse the snowy Route 10 before arriving in the final city of Galar, Winden. There's tons to do here, like getting new TMs and items, but the most important thing we've got to do is get ready for the semi-finals. My level caps for the Champions Cup are pretty similar to other Nuzlockers, but let's just go over them. We've got a cap of 49 for the semifinals against Marnie and Hop, then a cap of 55 for the finals bracket against Bede, Nessa, Bee, and Raihan, then a final cap of 65 for the final battle against Leon. All of these level caps start at the beginning of each gauntlet, so I'll be at level 49 for the Marnie fight and level 55 for the Bede fight. If I go over these caps for the fights after, that's allowed in my rule set. With that covered, let's head straight over to the stadium for our first Championship Cup battle. First up is potentially the hardest fight of the run, the final battle against Marnie and her dark types. She leads with Liepard and I lead with Gengar. Since it has the ability Prankster, that lets it move first if it's going to use a status move, so it uses the move Torment, preventing us from using the same move twice in a row. The thing is, against a Liepard, we don't need two moves to get a KO. One Dazzling Gleam is all it takes, and Marnie sends out her second Pokemon, Scrafty. Normally, I'd just get the KO with 4 times super effective Dazzling Gleam, but since Torment won't let us, we're in a really tough spot. Nah, I'm just kidding. We use Protect to block Scrafty's Crunch and waste a turn, then Gengar can get a second KO of the battle with another Dazzling Gleam. 2 down, 3 to go, and next up is Toxicroak. I Protect on the first turn to waste a PP of Sucker Punch, since it's like the only attacking move it has other than resisted Venoshock. And then after that, we waste another Sucker Punch PP by connecting with a Hypnosis, putting Toxicroak to sleep and giving us a free swap. I take this chance to bring in Drifblim, who's got super effective Fly to threaten Marnie's fighting type. Toxicroak does wake up right away, but thankfully it just misses a Swagger before Drifblim goes up in the air, then comes down to hit a super effective Fly for the one-shot KO. That's over half of Marnie's team down, and next up is her former ace, Morpeko. It can either go for super effective Spark or Bite here, so I swap into Golurk, who could be in some trouble if it gets crit by a Bite. But thankfully, Marnie just went for Spark that Golurk is immune to. Actually, Marnie never uses Bite at all, since on the next turn it just outspeeds and uses Torment before a super effective high horsepower secures us our 4th KO of the battle. That leaves Marnie with just one Pokemon left, and it's a really annoying one to deal with, Grimmsnarl. Unlike her brother Pierce, she actually uses Dynamax, so she reveals her G-Max Grimmsnarl that's gonna make our life hell for 3 turns. Since we never took any damage on Golurk and he's holding a Colbur Berry here to reduce some damage, we stay in for a turn and use Protect to waste a turn of Dynamax. Unfortunately, we've still got to waste 2 turns though, and to do that, we're going to need Poltegeist to take one for the team. She does have a Colbur Berry to raise her chances of surviving a G-Max Snooze, but even that isn't going to save her. Thanks so much for your sacrifice. From here, I bring in Aegislash to help us survive one more turn of Dynamax. King Shield cuts the damage of the final G-Max Snooze, and Marnie's ace shrinks back down to regular size. Even though we're faster, Grimmsnarl's Prankster ability lets it fire off a Torment before we can attack, and that's not going to help it survive. Aegislash swaps into Blade form, then fires off a super effective Iron Head for a pretty easy one-shot KO. With that, we've won our first battle of the Champions Cup, but we did have to make our first sacrifice since Kabu all the way back in Modestoke. On to the next. Our second battle of the semifinals is against our rival, Hop. who doesn't have a great team, but at least his ace is kinda hard now. He leads with Double, and I lead with Golurk. This time, his double can actually hit my Pokemon, but it's only with a resisted Zen Headbutt. Too bad. Since we got access to the TM for Drain Punch in Winden, Golurk can pretty easily abuse his Iron Fist ability, out-recovering any damage Double can even try to do to him. That's a pretty easy first KO, and second up is Snorlax. It can only hit Ghost types with the move Heavy Slam, but since Golurk is just as heavy as Snorlax, this is another great matchup for us. A few more Drain Punches keep Golurk healthy and Snorlax not so healthy. 2 down, 3 to go. Next up for Hop is Corviknight, a fantastic defensive Pokemon. Well, normally a fantastic defensive Pokemon. I swap into Chandelure on a Drill Peck for some solid damage, but since we don't need to take another hit with it, it's fine. Chandelure outspeeds and connects with a 130 base power stab super effective overheat for an easy one-shot KO. That leaves Hop with only one Pokemon left before his ace, and that's Pincurchin. Why did this make his final team instead of like the Boltund that was right there? I swap back into Golurk on a Curse, boosting Pincurchin's attack and defense by 1 stage while lowering its speed. That defense boost actually lets it survive a super effective high horsepower, meaning it can hit back with a Poison Jab. Okay. That's it. A Drain Punch finishes off Pincurchin and pops down to his last Pokemon. But this one is the real challenge of the fight, Inteleon. It's super fast, hits hard, and it has Dark Pulse, meaning it gets access to max darkness as Hop activates his 3 turns of Dynamax. We stay in with Golurk on Hop's first turn and use Protect to tank a super effective Max Geyser for around half our HP. Since Max Geyser sets up the rain after it's used, I feel really confident swapping into Jellicent next, since Inteleon's water move should always be the most damage. Instead, it goes for Max Hailstorm for some reason, getting rid of the rain and doing nothing to Assault Vest Jellicent. Unfortunately, since we can't use Protect while holding the Assault Vest, we need to make another sacrifice here to guarantee our win. Since we already have a better Ghost Grass type in Delmise, our Halloween-themed Pokemon needs to pay the ultimate price. Gourgeist goes down, but at least Hop's Dynamax turns are finally over, as I bring Jellicent back in. A Dark Pulse does solid damage to us as we hit a critical hit Energy Ball, bringing Hop's ace down to the red. That means we only need to dodge a crit flinch combo here, or the hail that Inteleon set up could just kill it. That works. With that, we've moved on to the finals of the Champions Cup tournament, where we're going to need to rematch some gym leaders if we want to get a shot at taking down Leon. With our death total tripling since the Champions Cup started, I'd really like it if we could keep the sacrifices to a minimum. Thankfully, we've got to start dealing with Olina and her goons, which should be pretty easy. Most of them have steel types, which means Chandelure just gets to go to town, so even though we need to fight some double battles with Hop as our teammate, we can get through them pretty easily. Once we get to the top floor, we actually need to fight Olina herself, and that's definitely not as easy. She leads with Frostlass, and I lead with Gengar, holding the Assault Vest. This is literally just in case we don't win the speed tie, but Gengar clutches up, outspeeding Frostlass and getting a one-shot KO with Shadow Ball. Second up is Milotic. Just like in my T-only video, check it out, this Milotic only has water attacking moves, meaning my water absorbed Jellicent completely walls it. Like, it literally can't even touch me. I'll save you the time since this thing loved to spam recover, but eventually Jellicent takes down Alina's second Pokemon. Third up is Serena, another Pokemon I used in my T-only run. I swap into Chandelure on an Acrobatics that does some solid damage, but that's all the chip Alina's Grass type is going to get. Our Fire type can easily outspeed here, then hit a super effective Overheat for a one-shot KO. Just like that, Alina only has one Pokemon left before her G-Max ace, and that's Salazzle. I stay in here as Salazzle misses a Poison Gas, and we hit a Shadow Ball for less than half. Why any trainer would use this terrible move instead of Toxic blows my mind. We tank a Dragon Pulse that I totally forgot it had for some major damage as another Shadow Ball leaves Salazzle in the red. I've got a swap now, so I bring Gengar back in to tank the Dragon Pulse really well thanks to the Assault Vest. Salazzle hits one last move, on Incinerate for like a quarter, before Gengar finishes it off with a Shadow Ball. That leaves Alina with just her last Pokemon, and that's Garbodor. It's got a special G-Max form as she activates her 3 turns of Dynamax, and I swap into Delmise. He can tank the incoming Max Quake really well before I swap into Aegislash on the Poison Max move that he's immune to. With only 1 turn of Dynamax left, we can just use King's Shield to take some reduced damage from Max Quake, and just like that, Garbodor is back to its regular size. Since I know this Pokemon isn't super strong, I use Aegislash to lower its attack with King's Shield, then slowly chip it down with some neutral Iron Heads. I'm not going to show all of it because it kind of took a while, but eventually, Aegislash wears down Garbodor and we've officially taken down Alina. Leon is late because he's been chatting with Chairman Rose, and he's saying some problematic things, but we're going to choose to ignore that and move on to our next stage of the Champions Cup. We've got 4 battles in this section, each with a varying level of difficulty. First is Bede, who's been remade into a fairy type trainer. Bede leads with Mawile and I lead with Chandelure. Since we need him to do a little bit more work later on, he has Flamethrower instead of Overheat here, but we can instantly one-shot Mawile. Second up is Gardevoir. It sets up a Wish on the first turn, but since that doesn't reduce the damage it takes, a single super effective Shadow Ball gets us another one-shot. Third is Galarian Rapidash, who just got added to Pokemon Unite. If you also play, let me know who you made in the comments. Chandelure tanks a critical hit Psycho Cut for a bit over half, but a Citrus Berry gives us a little bit more recovery before another Shadow Ball gets us our third one-shot KO of the battle. That leaves Bede with just one Pokemon left, his ace, Hatterene. Bede activates his 3 turns of Dynamax, which we're going to need to play around since this thing has a really good special attack stat. We protect on the first turn, but still take a ton of damage thanks to a crit, then swap into Dusclops on a Psychic Terrain boosted Maxed Mindstorm that thankfully doesn't get a back-to-back crit. That means we can just protect on the next turn and Hatterene goes back to normal size. I swap into Assault Vest Aegislash on a Psychic for some pretty light damage, and now we've got this game in the bag. Since Hatterene is slower than Slowking, we can just outspeed, then hit a super effective Iron Head for an easy one-shot KO. With that, we're done our first battle of the Champions Cup final, and we're on to the next. Next up in the Champions Cup is the Hulbury gym leader Nessa and her water types. This is probably going to be the hardest battle of the Champions Cup for us, and you'll see why in a second. She leads with Golisopod, and I lead with Chandelure. Having a fire type might seem weird in this battle against the water type gym leader, but since her lead is neutral to fire moves, we can actually secure a fast one-shot KO without worrying about Golisopod coming back to bite us later. 1 down, 4 to go, and next up is one of the fastest Pokemon in the entire franchise, Barraskewda. We need to slow this guy down, and I've got just the plan to do so. Since we led with the fire type, we can freely swap into Jellicent, since her water absorbability makes her immune to the incoming liquidation. After tanking a super effective Throat Chop, Jellicent can use the move Trick. This gives Barraskewda our held item, which is the lagging tail that I mentioned earlier. This makes it move last in its priority bracket no matter what, so we've always got the speed advantage. I swap into Kofagrigus, whose held Colbur Berry reduces the damage from the incoming Throat Chop. That means we've got enough HP to stay in and hit a Will-O-Wisp, halving Barraskewda's physical attack. I pivot through Golurk to bait a water move and then back into Jellicent for some recovery. Now our Jellyfish has a good HP and we can get our second KO of the battle with an Energy Ball. Third up is Pelipper, which not only sets the rain, but also has the move Tailwind, which is going to be really annoying later. I'm not going to waste my time since we're never in any danger here, but I time my KO so Tailwind isn't up when Pelipper goes down. Fourth up is Seeking. Seeking these nuts. It sets up a useless Aqua Ring as a super effective Energy Ball does over half. It tries to make something happen with a resisted Mega Horn, but it's not going to do anything to Jellicent. One more Energy Ball secures us the 4th KO of the battle, and Nessa is down to her last Pokemon. She sends out her ace, Dreadnought, and since this thing has Dark-type moves, we're going to need to navigate around some strong Dark-type max moves. Jellicent protects to waste Nessa's first Dynamax turn, but now we've got to switch something in on a Max Darkness. That job falls to Dusclops, who swaps in and tanks it super well. Like, a crit wouldn't have even KO'd there. Since there's only 1 turn left, we protect to stall it out, and Dreadnought goes back down to normal size. Since it has the move Jaw Lock that'll lock us into battle, I bring in Aegislash right away, who tanks it with a Colbur Berry really well. We use King Shield on the next turn, dropping Dreadnought's attack and securing us the win, because it would never get 2 crits in a row, right? Yeah, it doesn't. We hit 2 Sacred Swords, and with another King Shield mixed in, that gets us our final KO of the battle. Nessa's been defeated, and we're only halfway through the Champions Cup final. Third up is a rematch with 4th Gym Leader B and her fighting types. I know that Ash struggled against her in the Journeys anime, but I'm not going to have too much of a problem here. B leads with Hawlucha and I lead with Frostlass. There's a chance we lose the Speedzai here, but we win it, as Frostlass connects with a Frost Breath for a pretty easy one-shot KO. Second up for B is Surfetched, one of B's only Pokemon that can actually threaten us. I swap into Dusclops on a super effective Brutal Swing that does a little bit more than I was expecting. Another Brutal Spring leaves us in crit range, but since we hit a okay, never mind. We need a new plan. I swapped to Aegislash on a Brutal Swing for less than a third. I really need our best Pokemon to get us a KO here. A King Shield drops Surfetched attack by 1 stage, so we should only be in trouble if we get crit like 3 times. Another Brutal Swing leaves Aegislash just above half, as we swap to Blade Form to hit an Iron Head for over half. That means we only need to hit 1 more, so after we use another King Shield, we just need to dodge 1 crit and we should be fine. And we do, meaning Aegislash is free to hit one more Iron Head, who's going to secure our second KO of the battle. Third up is Fallings, who's only got Rock Tomb to hit our ghost types. By swapping to a Pokemon that's slower than it, like Golurk, we can kind of confuse the AI since it likes to use moves that drop your speed only when it's slower than you, not faster. This makes the AI kind of like freak out and just spam bulk up and no retreat, meaning we can just damage with Golurk for a bit, then bring in Delmise to finish the job with a couple Shadow Balls. Fourth up for B is Graplocked, the star of her team in the anime. Unfortunately for her, it only has normal and fighting type moves in this game, so it literally can't touch my ghost types. That's a free KO for Delmise, and now B's only left with her ace, Machamp. In our previous gym battle, this was definitely the hardest obstacle that we had to overcome, but now we've got a perfect strategy. If you look at its moveset, it's got 2 fighting type moves, a normal type move, and a fire type move. So it can only hit us with fire type moves then, and I just so happen to have a ghost type that's immune to fire moves. That's right, Chandelure can't be hit by a single move. So we can just bring him in, take a few Shadow Balls, and get a KO. Just like that, we've won round 3 against B, and we've only got 1 battle left. The final battle of the Champions Cup is against Leon's closest competitor, Raihan and his team of dragons. Well, more like his team of weather, but you get the idea. He leads with Torkoal and I lead with Chandelure. A Shadow Ball does over half as Torkoal uses Yawn, trying to put Chandelure to sleep next turn. We're going to take our KO here anyways, as another Shadow Ball brings down Raihan's lead. Chandelure falls asleep, but a held Chesto Berry wakes us up right away as Flygon comes out second. I swap in a Frostlass as Flygon sets up the Sandstorm, even though it only benefits rock types, not ground types. Since it doesn't get the special defense boost, a single Frost Breath is enough to secure our second KO of the battle. Third up is Turtonator, looking to set up the Sun. I swap back into Chandelure as it tries to use Shell Trap, a move that only works if I make contact. Since I'm using a special attacker, I'm not too worried. Our first Shadow Ball does over half as Turtonator sets up the Sun with Sunny Day. That's not going to help at all, since we can just outspeed and hit another Shadow Ball for a KO. That's 3 down, 2 to go, and next up is Goodra. I swap into Assault Vest Delmise as Goodra just misses a Thunder, giving us a completely free swap. Raihan sets up the Rain on the next turn as Delmise connects with an Anchor Shot, doing over half to the Kalos Pseudo Legendary. A boosted Surf still does basically nothing on the next turn, so Delmise is free to secure a KO with a second Anchor Shot. That leaves Raihan with just 1 Pokemon left, his ace, Duraludon. I swap into Dusclops as Raihan activates his 3 turns of Dynamax and connects with a max Steel Spike, doing a bit less than half to our unevolved Pokemon. We protect to burn another Dynamax turn, then swap into... Wait, why are you staying in, Pete? Wake up! Wake up, Pete, wake up. Holy shit. 15 HP? Yeah, I kind of misclicked and stayed in, but we're going to pretend that I meant to do that. I swap into Aegislash on a Dragon Claw for some super light damage next. We don't even need to protect next, so Aegislash can just tank a resisted Iron Head, then swap into Blade form to fire off a super effective Sacred Sword, leaving Duraludon in the yellow. We do use King's Shield to make sure we take damage in shield form, but then right after that, we flinch from an Iron Head, then finally get our KO from a second Sacred Sword. With that, Raihan's been defeated and we've officially won the Champions Cup. With our victory here, that earns us the opportunity to challenge the undefeated champion of Galar, Leon. We walk out onto the pitch and, wait, why is the level cap so high? And why is Chairman Rose on the Jumbotron? God damn it. I knew it was the Balding Man. The Balding Man is always the villain. Chairman Rose tries to stop us at the power plant, but his entire team is steel types and I have a Chandelure, so I'm not even going to talk about it. We've got to go save the world from Eternatus, and after Leon got absolutely dog-walked by it, I'm kind of stressed a little bit. I lead with Dusclops, since my goal here is to just stall it out. We tank a Flamethrower pretty well, then hit a Will-O-Wisp to secure some chip damage. From here, we protect and use Nightshade until Dusclops gets into crit range, then I bring in Assault Vest Jellicent to take over the stalling duties. I did kind of forget to put an attacking move on her after the Nessa battle, so we just have to do some super light chip damage with Energy Ball. Once she gets low, I bring in Kofagrigus to keep stalling. He does need to tank 1 Dynamax Cannon, but he survives on like 40 HP, so it's probably fine. The burn takes down Eternatus, and we're done phase 1 of the battle. Now we've got to take on Eternatus in its Eternamax form, which has the highest base stats of any Pokemon ever. What do you mean 1125 base stat total? At least we have Hop to hopefully take some hits for us, and Zacian and Zamazenta to cover our backs. Since this is a 4v1, I'm playing this as defensively as possible. I'll let Zacian and Zamazenta do the bulk of the damage, then I'll just alternate Protect and Nightshade with Dusclops. Eternatus targets me the most out of everybody, because of course it did, but we weren't really in any danger. We catch Eternatus to sit in the box forever, and we've stopped the Darkest Day before it ruined the entire Galar region. World saved? Check. Didn't lose the run? Check. Got the girl? Well, we're like 10, so let's focus on that later. All that's left for us to do is take on Leon in our final battle, one with the title of champion on the line. Leon leads with Aegislash and I lead with Chandelure. Since I've been abusing this Pokemon for the entire run, I also know how to beat it. A single super effective overheat can one-shot Aegislash, not giving it a chance to sweep my entire team. Second up is Haxorus, who wants to use super effective Earthquake here. Conveniently, I have a flying type on the team, so I bring in Drifblim completely for free. We've got a Focus Sash, just in case we get crit, as an Outrage does huge damage to Drifblim before we can connect with a Shadow Ball for some really important chip damage. That was Drifblim's entire job in this battle, so after trying to get a Confusion with Protect, Drifblim makes the ultimate sacrifice, going down to another Outrage. To replace her, I bring in Frostlass. Since we're faster here, we can outspeed and connect with a super effective Frost Breath for the KO. That's 2 down, 4 to go, and next up is Cinderace. I was expecting this to be Dragapult actually, so we're going to need to steer this a little bit. I swap into Chandelure on a Pyro Ball that he's immune to, then tank an Acrobatics on the next turn for a little bit less than half. At this point, I either need to sack something to get it in, or risk a crit on Chandelure, so let's try the crit. Cinderace connects with an Acrobatics to bring Chandelure to 20 HP, before we can finish off the Galarian starter with a second Shadow Ball. Next up is Seismitoad. So I swap into Jellicent on a Liquidation that she's immune to. After that, we tank an Earthquake for less than half before an Energy Ball surprisingly doesn't get the KO. I was certain that was going to be a one-shot. After Leon heals with a full restore and we hit another Energy Ball, we need to risk another crit here on Earthquake. But Seismitoad just used Toxic instead. Cool. Energy Ball secures the KO, and Leon is down to just 2 Pokemon. Next up is Dragapult, and I need a clean switch into Frostlass. To do that, Jellicent makes the sacrifice for us. Shout out Jordan Peele, by the way. With Frostlass swapped in safe, we can tank a Shadow Ball thanks to an Assault Vest, then fire off a super effective Frost Breath for around 3/4. Normally, this would be a pretty bad spot, since Dragapult is super fast, but Frostlass has the priority move Ice Shard in this battle. That means we can bring down Dragapult before it has the chance to do any more damage. That leaves Leon with just his ace, as he brings out Charizard last. The champion activates his Dynamax Band, transforming Charizard into its super strong G-Max form. Frostlass takes one for the team here, going down to a G-Max Wildfire and burning 1 turn of Dynamax. I bring in Aegislash next, but that's just to bait another G-Max Wildfire. I immediately swap into Chandelure, who's immune to it, to waste another turn. On Leon's final turn of Dynamax, our fire type needs to be the one to make the final sacrifice of the battle. Chandelure, you've been a beast. Charizard's Dynamax ends, and it's a regular battle again, as I bring in a never-before-seen team member, Gremlins, the Dragapult. He uses his signature move, Dragon Darts, to do over half to Leon's ace before he tanks an Air Slash for a bit less than half. He also does take chip damage from the Sandstorm and from G-Max Wildfire, but a held Citrus Berry gives us some more recovery. We didn't really need it though, since on the next turn, Dragapult fires off 1 more Dragon Darts that finishes off Charizard. With that, we've beaten the undefeated champion Leon, and we've officially beaten a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Sword using only Ghost types. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was low-key harder than I was expecting. Like, I'm a little worried for the letter lock that I have planned to do in this game. I was also excited to do something like kinda in the Halloween spirit, so if you guys like this one, maybe I'll do a Christmas video. If you did like it though, consider pressing like or hitting subscribe, really helps me out, or at least I think it does. I don't know anything. Head over, go follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, or consider becoming a channel member if you want to like just buy me a coffee every month. Really helps me out. What else? Comment below your favorite ghost type Pokemon. You already know my top 2. I want to know your top 2. Thanks for watching, guys.